right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Samantha Kennedy. I am the County Extension Director and Family Consumer Sciences Agent in Wakulla County. And Heather, if you just want to go ahead and quickly introduce yourself.
So I'm Heather Janney, and I am the County Extension Director and 4-H agent up in Columbia County, just north of Gainesville. Super simple.
Yeah, so Heather's more in the northeastern part of the state, and I'm more in the northwestern part of the state. So just as the peninsula turns into the panhandle, there's Wakulla. We're right there on the coast.
Yep, and there's somebody like us in all 67 counties, just to further that along for you for IFAS Extension. And so we, again, if you joined us late, we're the branch that extends that knowledge out to the rest of the state.
So, yep, very good. Yeah, there's a lot of us, and a lot of people don't know we're here, but we're here. We try to do our best. So, all right, so we are going to talk to you a little bit today about mindfulness and how mindfulness can help with stress reduction, as well as improving your mindset and your outlook, which can also then lead to more positive effectiveness at work. So we're going to start with just a couple, like a 2.5-minute video, just about mindfulness at work. So I'm just going to play this guy for you, and we'll just go from there.
Hi, my name is Diane Yo, mindfulness meditation instructor, with a hot tip on how to practice mindfulness in your workplace to reduce stress, clear your mind, and enjoy your work. Whether you like it or not, you can't control things on the outside. You can't control deadlines, people who are difficult to deal with, or things that don't go as planned. But the good news is, you can control how you respond to people and events. What you focus on grows. So if your mind is constantly thinking, I'm so stressed, I have way too much on my plate and I'll never get it done, you're right. You will be stressed and you won't get it done. It will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what can you do? Try this. Set the intention to become more aware of your thoughts. Be curious of what you think about during the day. Are your thoughts uplifting and positive, or negative and stress-filled? The key is, let go of judgment and simply be curious. Then, have the willingness to let that thought go and gently bring the focus to your breath. On the inhale, think breathing in. And on the exhale, think breathing out. So you aren't pushing the thought away. You're simply giving the mind something else to grab onto, and that's the breath. Every time you make this choice, you're training the mind to be more present and calm. And as you calm your mind, you calm your body. Things on the outside might not change, but how you show up and respond will change dramatically when you practice mindfulness. So for more information on the benefits of mindfulness in the workplace, go to dianeyo.com.
I am not getting any, compensation for that, by the way, just to let you know. All right. But yeah, I liked her message in that video because,
Hi.
Oh, there she goes.
My name is Diane.
Here we go. I liked her message in that video because that is something that really helped me, or continues to help me in terms of just getting out of my own head a little bit, because I have a tendency to just overthink everything and fixate on things. And so being able to get, to build that habit of just taking a few seconds to just breathe, just really helps me break that cycle of just rumination that I find myself getting trapped in sometimes. So that's what I liked about her message, was that it was just an easy thing that we can all practice to do that can really make a lot of positive difference. So part of this that goes, is mindset, negative mindset, positive mindset, whatever it happens to be. Most of my life, I've always kind of been a cynic. At least that's what I think of myself. I'm always like, this is going good right now, but it's inevitably going to go bad, or, something like that. Like I've never been a super positive person. There's like really irritating people. That's just my opinion, that you come to work in the morning and everyone, they're like, oh, it's like 7:30 in the morning. It's so wonderful. And I'm like, don't talk to me till 10 o'clock. That's kind of how I still am, but I'm trying, I consistently try to improve myself. So thoughts and the power of thoughts really, like I said, thoughts can really change our attitude and our outlook and the way that we see the world and interact with people and the way we face our day. So it can actually change the structure of our brain as we work on improving our thought patterns or our outlook. We can certainly change those pathways. So that's why it's not easy to do. It takes practice. At least for me, it did. I try to be more positive now. I think I have been successful at that. But it has taken some time to kind of retrain my brain in those pathways that normally would just go down the dark path, now go more to the better, lighter path. So when you think of something, you have an emotion, your brain is sending neurological signals throughout the body. So that's why negative or positive thoughts can affect how you feel in other areas of your body. So you could have, you might have chest pains, or you could have indigestion, or even physical pain in other areas. If you have, sometimes people can experience that with constant negative thinking. And so genetic expression can be tweaked too, based on our reactions to events and circumstances. And if you've ever heard of the term resilience in this space, that's kind of goes along with that. So being able to kind of go with the flow, being able to react more efficiently and effectively to stressful situations can actually improve overall health as well. This is, everyone knows Tony Robbins, right? Like who he is, at least, like the big motivational speaker. So here's a quote from him: "Whatever you hold in your mind on a consistent basis is exactly what you'll experience in your life." So this does have some limitations, of course, but for the overall, my message is pretty good, because if you have, if you work on being positive and have, having stress reduction strategies and things like that, you're going to have an overall better outlook and probably overall better health in general. I like this picture, Heather. Sometimes you just got to take yourself for a walk, and there are certain things that you can control. So, nutrition, what you choose to put into your body is something that you have control over. How much you exercise or get out there and walk in nature. I saw a few of the comments earlier about things that people like to do in terms of stress reduction. And a lot of them had to do with like nature, immersing yourself in nature, walking in nature. And that there have been a plethora of research and studies done to show that nature actually has a positive impact on people's mood and behavior. So poor sleep hygiene and stress definitely can interrupt your sleep cycle. I think we've all experienced that at some part in our life, whether it was an exam and we're worried about the exam, or we have an issue at work or a family issue, and you stress out about it, and then you find that you can't sleep, and then you feel tired, and then you feel more stressed because you feel tired, and then you get irritable, and then it's just a vicious kind of cycle where all these little chain links are connected together. Coping skills is something that can be learned too. It goes back to resilience. So you can learn. I like to share this little anecdote with people, because we were at one of our state extension conferences once, Heather and I, and we had a specialist that did beforehand had us all complete a resiliency scale, kind of a resiliency test. And it was a scale from like 1 to, 100 or something. And so the lower the number, the less resilient you are. I scored a 1. Okay, like the specialist actually came up to me and said, I had never seen anyone score that low before in my life. So yeah, that was, if I was to take it now, I would like to think that it would be a much higher number. So those skills can be learned over time. So if you have poor coping skills and that's something that you recognize in yourself and you want to improve in that area, those are certainly things that you can seek out and improve, find ways to learn more about. We just talked about mindset and thoughts and how I don't like to say, I mean, I say it all the time, even though I really don't like the message that it sends, is faking till you make, fake it till you make it. Because sometimes even if you fake it, it's just like you never make it ever that day. It's just, and so I prefer, we all do it. We've all had those days where you're just like paste on the smile and do your work and, just, do your thing and don't worry about it. But I prefer, for myself, I prefer to build the skills that will allow me to actually reduce my stress and improve my mood without having to just pretend that everything's fine. Because that pretending can actually lead to some other darker, worse, bad mood kind of things. And then stress, of course, can all these things can lead to stress, and stress can lead to all these things. So that's why it's in big, bold type at the bottom, because it's kind of the primary factor that ties all of these other bullet points together. Stress has a physiological effect on the body, has a psychological, emotional, behavioral, physical, you name it. Stress can adversely affect it. And so trying to find ways to cope and to reduce and to acquire those stress reduction strategies are very important. So what is stress? Well, it looks different for everybody in terms of what their stressors are. So different people find different things stressful. Again, it could be a deadline at work. It could be a coworker that you find hard to get along with. It could be some family issues. It could be anything. Even things like smoking is a stressor to your body. So it just depends on it's an individual thing on what your stressors are. Now, what it is basically you could have physiological changes within your body when you have stress. You have a lot of demands being made on you, and it can affect overall mental well-being as well as physical well-being, because we can't adequately cope with those stressors. And so not being able to cope with those stressors can actually negatively impact you in all facets of yourself, and then also just increased stress as well. So one of my favorite quotes was, stressed is just dessert spelled backwards, which, as someone who teaches healthy eating, it's probably not the best thing, but it is kind of funny to me because sometimes that comfort food can give you a jolt of positive energy. It wouldn't be something that I would recommend as being your coping strategy, but periodically it's okay to do that. So there's a couple of types of stress. Not all stress is bad. Now, the bad stress is called distress. So it's that debilitating type of stress that leads to negative health consequences. There's also some positive stress. So we've all been in situations where we were stressed out about being able to do something. Then we are able to accomplish it. And then we have grown from that process. We've improved ourselves, even though we went through a lot of stress to get there. Or it could be, the fight or flight, where if you have a bear chasing you, and then you're able to outrun the bear, that's stressful, but it's also positive because the bear didn't maul you to death. So there's different types of stress, and not all of it is bad. Some stress can be positive for sure. Most of the time when we're talking about stress, what comes to mind is the negative stress, because that's what we seem to experience and feel most often. But there are different types of positive stress that are more positive, and that's called eustress, which is not a word you hear a lot, but it just is the opposite of distress.
And just to add to that, the picture of the car there, the difference between eustress and distress is what you allow to happen to yourself, like that car in the picture there, that breaks you down and will rush you out and totally tear you apart. Eustress, my favorite example, is whenever your mother-in-law is coming to visit and you absolutely stress to the nines to make sure your house is perfect and all the meals are cooked, everything's done in advance. And then whenever she gets there, you realize it really didn't matter, but you got better and you build a great relationship because of it. And it makes everything okay.
Yeah, that's a good
Basically.
example. Yeah, those are good examples. All right, so it's all in how you look at it. So can stress be enhancing? Yes. Can it be debilitating? Of course. Again, most of the time when you're talking about stress reduction or the impact of stress on people's mental health or physical health, it's usually the negative stress that is most talked about and focused on. But it can be, again, like Heather was just saying, it can be a positive thing that helps you grow and it helps improve you as well. Stress-related growth, again, you go through a stressful situation, you come out the other side, and you've learned from that experience. So yeah, you experienced a lot of stress leading up to that, but now you've improved in a relationship, or you have acquired a skill that can help you in your job or whatever. And those kinds of things can be stress-related growth as well. So mindset does matter. At the beginning, we talked a little bit about mindset and how that can set the tone for your day as well. Sometimes I'm not a morning person, never have been, never will be. I've tried and it just doesn't work. So the running joke in my office is like, oh, it's not 10 o'clock yet, don't talk to Sam. It's not quite that bad, but you know, it's one of those things where if you wake up and you start off thinking, I'm going to have a terrible day, then just like the woman in the video said, you probably will. If you have a more positive outlook, then you might have a more positive day. It's not quite as cut and dried and black and white as that, but there is a connection between how you perceive things are going to go and how they go. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes. And stress, again, can be enhancing. Not all stress, but some of it can be. Acute stress is good for us, and acute just means that it's in the moment. It doesn't last very long. It's like when you're trying to get a deadline, or there's a moment where you're like frightened, or you're feeling you're under stress, but then the stress goes away. Whereas chronic stress is the bad stress generally, and that's the stress that you just feel all the time, constantly, that can really have a negative impact on your overall health. So how do you go down the enhancement route? And that is more like, how do I turn my stress into things that are more positive? So again, you can focus on things that you have more control over, like your thoughts. And sometimes it feels like you don't have control over your thoughts. And their thoughts can sometimes control you. And that's just naturally, that's just human. That's just human nature that happens. But there are strategies like the breathing, the deep breathing, that can help kind of get you out of that cycle and help you kind of put your thoughts into perspective and not let them run your life. I actually have a friend who does the rubber band snap. So she has a rubber band on her wrist, and then when she, feels herself getting caught up in something, she'll just like literally snap herself out of it. And so whatever strategy, you would adopt that works for you is something that's an individual and personal thing. Talked about mindset, health behaviors. That would be things like more physical activity, walking in nature, eating healthy with a balanced diet with lots of fruits and vegetables, cutting back on sweets or fats or anything like that might work for you. Just having more healthy behaviors. Personal and professional development. I know it's not as easy just to leave a job you don't like as it sounds, but that it might be that's what you need to do ultimately. If your professional life is making you chronically stressed and unhappy, then if you're able to change that, then certainly that is something that is available. Also personal relationships are all definitely hard to navigate. And it's not as easy to cut off your family and friends as, you read in a book, oh, well, you have a toxic relationship, just end it. It's not always that simple. But it is something that, is always recommended, that they try to at least be able to identify those situations so that you can better understand what is causing your stress. Children, they could be positive or negative. I guess I don't have any, so I can't really speak to that personally, but
You can control
suppose-
it just a little bit and see some positivity in it. Not everybody has lots of control.
Now, I've worked with 4-H kids, but the thing I love about 4-H kids is I get to send them home at the end of the day. But most of them are pretty good. But yeah, so this depends on your outlook, like you would face anything else. And then work again is also with mindset and outlook. Now, sometimes, what is it? One thing I always tell myself when I'm feeling like I'm about ready to get angry about something, and I'm like, okay, I can't control what that person just said to me, but I can control how I react to it. And that's a mantra that I have to repeat to myself quite frequently. And so it has helped me reduce the amount of times that I just get mad for no reason, because that anger is stressful. And I don't need to be going through it when I have a lot of other things that cause me stress in my life. So that's been very helpful to me. And so again, work depends on what your outlook is. Some things you can't control, like she was saying in the video, deadlines you can't necessarily control. You can't control other people's personalities, but you can control how you react and respond to those stressors. And so there's a couple of good quotes here. So you are where you are today because of the choices you made yesterday, and you will be where you are tomorrow based on your choices today. So every day we make choices. We can make good choices, bad choices, neutral choices. We make a million choices a day. You may not even think about all the choices you make, but every day we hopefully build on the day before. And the idea here is just improvement over time. It's not perfection because you'll never reach it, but it's just being able to improve over time. And then the other quote is, the decisions you make today become part of the thought networks in your brain. And earlier, a few slides back, we were talking about how you can actually change your neural pathways by changing your thought patterns and your behavior. And so there is some research to back that up, that over time you can actually negative or positive affect the way your brain functions depending on your outlook. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Heather. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer any. Oh, approved. There you go.
Good deal. Yay, I could move the PowerPoint. All right. So we're going to talk about actual mindfulness. And what we're going to do with that, let me make sure I can zoom to the next slide. There it goes. All right. So how many of you have seen this view before? This picture that shows you the guy and the dog, and the dog, of course, has a clear mind. And of course, I'm the dog person here in this presenting team. So the dog has a clear mind, and I think mine absolutely do every single time. And then my brain is the one that is going 90 to nothing. It's the one that is mindful. Wait, full. Let me take my Georgia accent out. Mindful. And then the dogs are mindful. And so that is the difference, is finding that balance, that ability to clear your mind of all that stuff that's crazy. And it's really difficult to do. I've been doing this, I will say, for probably about 5 or 6 years now, trying to find that mindfulness. And that's one of the key things that can really help you with stress reduction. So what is mindfulness? And the picture you see there on the right is one of my favorite things to look at. And that's actually my photography, is doing that creativity. Some of those things we were talking about earlier, going out to the ocean. Water and the sound of moving water for me is one of those things that just clears my mind. But it's a couple of quotes describing it. It means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And now these are the professional descriptions, and we'll get into it a little bit deeper in a second. But it's about being present in each moment and can be best described as remembering to pay attention to our present moment experience. So bunch of mumbo jumbo, right? If you've never done it before, if you've done mindfulness, you may agree that it's a little mumbo jumbo, but whenever you get into it, what really is it? So it's a mind-body practice. It really truly benefits your psychological and your physical health. I know I've personally been through a lot of professional and personal stressors in the last, I'd say, probably 7 years. It's been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of crazy things with promotions. I know some of you may not have to go through that, but even if you do work in different departments, that stuff can be super stressful and weigh on your mind. So whenever you're practicing that mindfulness, I know Sam was talking about some strategies earlier. One of the things I use is saying the word stop out loud to myself. It may only last for 30 seconds, but it actually truly helps a little bit. So it can help your physical and your psychological. It's a way of being. So it's not necessarily that, oh, I meditate, I do mindfulness. It's actual how I present myself, the way I move, the things that I do throughout my day is being mindful of things. Like your mom always told you growing up, you need to be mindful of that. So it's a way to look at it that way, but a little bit more literal than what your mom meant. It's not necessarily an activity performed, like I was just saying, and it's being proactive and making those intentional decisions, and definitely not living on on autopilot. Yes, you're on copilot with your all your mental things that are going on, but you need to control that and not just do it automatically. So make those intentional habits and those intentional patterns within your world. Oh, back up one. How do I do that? Gotta do the back arrow.
There we go.
Yay. All right. So we were talking about earlier about the stressors, and this one can sound a little weird, but in actuality, you control your thoughts, right? So whenever you think about first thing this morning, you got dressed and you're like, this is a horrible hair day. Now, is that truth? How do you figure out if it's truth or not? What if you walk past somebody first thing in the morning, and they're like, oh my gosh, her hair is fantastic. Or that outfit is fantabulous. Yes, my Georgia word, sorry. But it's wonderful. And so how do you know if what you're truly thinking is true? It can't be necessarily a fact. Whenever you think something about yourself, that's your self-judgment. And you have to know that everything you think is not true. You have to let some things go. I do personally, I've spent a long time trying to get out of it, is a lot of personal self-judgment. And that's what causes my anxiety. That's what causes my stressors, worrying if I've done enough, if I've made somebody happy, all of that stuff. So in the last amount of time that I've been trying to practice mindfulness, it's about not believing all of those thoughts, because that'll put you in that distress. Eustress and distress are very different, and that judgment of yourself is definitely distress. So you've got to recognize those thoughts as just simply thoughts, and it's not a fact. So facts aren't something you always believe. So you have to find that trust in what it is and what it isn't. Well, it'll let me flip. Maybe see, sorry, y'all. I'll get this together in a second with the PowerPoint. So there are lots of different benefits of mindfulness. I'm not going through this whole list for you guys. I took several courses previously that really described it. They were a lot of research based. It was for a lot of teaching in schools, but it was for the help of youth and the things that they can do to build their minds. Well, yes, we're adults, but you still can learn regardless of your age. And so increasing that memory, I know, is helpful for a lot of us. Mine stinks. So it really helps be mindful. Your control over those automatic behaviors. So food is my emotional coping tool. And so if I'm mindful, I'm able to stop that food intake a little bit. That increased acceptance of others. That's something that is a key priority with UF now, and you're all aware of that. You've seen the things from the president, you've seen the things from the different committees on campus, and being able to just accept others is a part of that as well. So you can look through these, feel free to Google, search more. You can always find more information on those. Oh, Sam, it went to...
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
hit something on my keyboard.
That's okay.
Let me go back down here and go to slideshow, current slide.
Next slide.
And let me flip them back.
Yep.
And there we go.
Fantastic. There we go. So Sam mentioned about changes in the brain earlier. So whenever you practice mindfulness, there are actually changes that are found in the prefrontal cortex whenever they do brain scans. And that is the very front. And you'll see in that little picture there that that's your judgment, emotion, your self-control. Some of the other changes included are emotional regulation, your fear modulation, so being able to control that fear, your body regulation, all of that stuff. And the changes that are seen in brain scans whenever they're compared are highly significant, different. So it's a big difference whenever you're able to do that. You can ask Martha, who's known me for over 16 years, that the changes that are seen in someone that practice mindfulness compared to someone before they do are completely different in the way that they present themselves and handle things. And I promise I'm trying to click the next slide. There it goes. All right, so there are three main components with mindfulness. You have a purpose, a presence, and acceptance. So to begin with, your purpose is very purposefully and intentionally directing your attention, making sure that you are attentive to what's going on with you. You're not letting your mind wander. You're not letting your thoughts wander. You are right there. You are paying attention to how your fingers feel, how your feet feel. You're not worried about what's going on in the background, who's headed to lunch right now, who is coming back and making crazy noises in the background of your office, as if you're still sitting in your office, you're going through that. And then your presence, you're being actively engaging in the present moment. You're recognizing those thoughts about the past and about the future. Yes, so you accept those. It's okay to think about those things, but your acceptance part is to experience that non-judgmentally. So you don't judge yourself for thinking about that. And you have that awareness, but you don't necessarily react. And that's all things we're going to apply here in just a minute. Oh. All right, so start practicing. Whenever you try to start practicing mindfulness, the main things with that are direct involvement of one of your five senses. So mindfulness, those true experts, I guess, on it, they might be able to do all five senses at one time. But for me, it's about doing one thing at a time. That's what I'm capable of. I work with youth for a living. So focusing on one thing at a time is much easier than all five at the time. Then you find an anchor. So what's an anchor do for a boat? Everybody think about that. If you want to throw it in the chat, you're welcome to do that. Anybody? An anchor? What's that do? Holds it still. That's my favorite thing to ask kids, and they're like, huh? So yes, an anchor, and you have to find one of those for your attention. So the most simplistic, easiest one to get to would be your breath. So before we even go into actual practicing, everybody, I know we got all the cameras muted, all the cameras turned off, but do this favor for me since you're participating. I want you to take a deep breath in and then hold it and breathe out. And as I'm going to have you do it one more time. And as you're breathing in, I want you to notice where you feel your breath the most and place your hand there. So breathe in and notice where you're actually feeling your breath. And hold it and breathe out. And so whenever I do that, I feel it more so in the back of my throat. Some folks feel it in their stomach. Some feel in their diaphragm or in their lungs. Some feel it in their nose. So it just really depends, but that's your main focus. Whenever I've gone through emotional intelligence training, emotions take 6 seconds to identify and actually register in your brain. So if you do 3 breaths in and 3 breaths out, that should be a little bit longer than 6 seconds. So you've had time to identify that emotion and you're able to actually act on that emotion a little bit more than, you're able to respond to that emotion rather than react to that emotion. So you have to take that time. You have to return always back to your anchor. So remembering back, maybe put your hand there so you can remember where you're focusing. And then finding that calmness, that ability to focus. And then, like I was talking about, somebody running around your office, you notice those distractions and you let them pass. Doing this with kids, you ask them what they noticed that they don't normally notice in their classrooms. So a lot of the time they'll come back and say the air conditioner in the room, the birds outside, any of that stuff is stuff that they may not notice because of all the other distractions that are going on around them a lot of the time. There. Okay, so we are going to practice, and I did a small breathing, but to keep things short, what I want to try with you guys is my bell. So I'll show you my bell on the camera, and that is a mindful bell. It sits on a little cushion, And I've got a little mallet, and I'm going to move it hopefully close enough to my computer that you can hear it. And the main thing I want you to do is focus. The bell is going to be your anchor. So I want you to listen to the bell, and I want you to do a thumbs up whenever you don't hear it anymore. When you don't hear it anymore, do a thumbs up. All right, everybody ready?
You're doing it. I couldn't hear that at all.
Nobody heard it? Oh my goodness, that's okay. All right, so we'll do another breathing then. So, oh, somebody heard it, maybe. It may not be that it's loud enough, but that's something that you could potentially use in your office is download an app. There is a mindfulness bell app that I've used in the past that is fantastic. So since we don't have the ability for the bell, what I want you to do is close your eyes, and everybody has their cameras off. That's okay. So take your second, and I want you to put your mindful body on, is what we call it. So I want you to rest your hands in your lap on your thighs. I want you to relax your shoulders, and I want you to take a deep breath in. Hold it 1, 2, 3, and deep out. 1, 2, 3. And I want you to notice how your feet feel. They're sitting flatly on the floor. And notice how your shoes feel on the bottoms of your feet. Are they cold? Are they hot? Are they tired? Are your muscles tight? And then come up to your calves. And have you been walking around? Do they feel tight? Have you been sitting at your desk all day? Are they just kind of loose and feel slack? And then I want you to come up to your thighs. Think about how they feel. How does your skirt or your pants feel? How does that fabric feel? We're going to skip over and come on up to your shoulders. I want you to lift them to your ears. Lift them way up, roll them backwards, and drop them back down. And then I want you to lift them one more time, up to your ears, drop them back down. And then next, I want you to fold your head down and roll it to the left. Roll it back, roll it to the right, drop it back down. You can do that one more time. And just notice how everything feels as you're doing that. Are you noticing different strengths, different pulls and muscles, maybe things that you haven't used in a while, muscles you haven't moved? And then I want you to notice how your hair on your neck feels. Or if your hair is too short to feel, notice how your scalp feels. Is it cool? Is it warm? Do you have a small headache? Have you been looking too long at your screen today? And I want you to take a deep breath in and breathe out. One more breathe in and breathe out. And as you slowly come back to, you can feel free to open your eyes back up. Give everybody just a couple seconds. And I know that was really fast, but it was an opportunity that was able to give you about 3 minutes to relax. And sometimes during your day, that's all you need to bring yourself back together, is that small bit of relax and that small amount of time to just stretch your muscles for a second, get yourself back together, deal with the next hard task, turn it into eustress where you're going to make it more positive. All right. We went into the start practicing. Oh, going the wrong direction. So one thing to look at is mindfulness in action. And that's where what we were kind of discussing is you're bringing a sense of purpose to your everyday. That's something that I'm trying to work on. Those smallest routines, turn them into great accomplishments. Turn yourself into, if you're taking a walk, be mindful in your walk. Notice how everything feels. I've actually done a mindful meditation where just a mindful body scan, and people say that they feel pains in muscles that they didn't even know existed, or that they felt things in certain places that they didn't know was going on. So it's an opportunity to achieve something for yourself. Whenever you're speaking, so you speak your truth, taking your time, notice those thoughts, those stories, all those things that pass through your mind before you speak. Like I told you a while ago, it takes 6 seconds to process an emotion. So if you take those moments, those seconds to breathe, then you're better able to respond to the things that are happening. And you can take a moment to reflect. Consider how things went. You had a big argument with one of your coworkers, or you had a deep discussion with one of your bosses, and take that moment, reflect on it, notice how it went, and reset how you respond to it. And then emotional intelligence is something that I've been doing a lot of studying on lately and learning about in presentation to youth. And that's a more common way to think of it nowadays is, yes, we're being mindful, but it's actually utilizing your emotional intelligence, noticing others' reactions, and using that mindfulness to respond rather than react. It makes things a lot more smooth because personally, I feel like a lot of the confrontations that happen in the world would happen if everyone would just be a little bit more emotionally intelligent. Excuse me. Okay, so we've got a whole list of freebies and stuff. I will tell you, Headspace, they do have a thing for educators, and I'm pretty sure, don't down me if it's not true, but as a UF employee, I'm pretty sure you'd be considered an educator. So you get free access to some of the stuff they have on their site. Calm is something that's an app that they offer HR. Recently, everyone received an email about getting Calm for free. And I know there was 5,000 subscriptions, I believe, in the email I found earlier. And there's the link for that. So feel free, pull out your phone or do the snipping tool and take a screenshot of this on the screen. But that's the link for that. And all you have to do is register. I know I registered and received my link pretty quick. There's also Noom if you prefer that, just so you know that's all out there. There's also Insight Timer, and that's something that you can utilize for free. And those are all things that you can just pull up and be able to have someone talk you through a meditation. I know me personally, I can't sit around usually and be successful at meditating or at being mindful even, without actually having my brain or my voice, something in my ears to lead me through a session. It's something my brain just runs entirely too fast. I can't focus. So it's so much easier having someone talk it to me. There's some other websites. And so we've got the Free Mindfulness Project, Palouse Mindfulness, mindful.org. You've got practicingmindfulness.com. And then you've got several UF resources. I know I started doing some of this stuff before UF Mindfulness became very strong. And so now they've got a great website that has some resources. The Counseling and Wellness Center has some great resources. And actually UF Helps Shands Arts and Medicine. They've got some things and a lot of things that in several of these that happen in person. So if you're there in Gainesville, you're welcome to go and access those. So hopefully everyone got a time to take a screenshot if they wanted. And it'll be available online in the presentation afterwards. So does anyone have any questions? Deanna, yes, absolutely. You've got the YouTube videos with Calm, Ambience, Mindful, Jazz Cafe, Office Music, all that stuff. Thank you, Angie. I'm glad you shared that with us of it's only for K through 12. But yes, Calm is a lot of things. Oh, listening to nature sounds, that's absolutely a great thing that a lot of people just don't take the time to be mindful and listen to everything around them. That's all it takes. All right. Any questions for me or Samantha on any of the presentation today? We truly appreciate you guys allowing us to come and present to you. We hope you gain something beneficial out of this to apply to your workday. Even just breathing, just remember, you use your breath as an anchor. It's the most simple. Positive phone messages. Oh my goodness, that is a smart idea. I need to start doing that. Martha Maddox.
That is a good idea. Yeah.
Messages.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, just to piggyback on what Heather just said, thank you guys for your time today. We very much appreciate you being here with us and allowing us to be here with you. And if you could just find one tool maybe that you can adopt to help you with your mindfulness practice, that would be a step in the right direction. So thank you guys very much.
So we'll turn it back over to Carly and Catherine. If you guys have any finishing things.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you both for presenting. I learned a lot. I thought that was wonderful. I actually worked in cardiac rehab. We used the bell a lot for our patients to teach them about mindfulness. So yeah, I love that. That was great. And like Heather had mentioned, this will be uploaded onto our website. The website that you guys use to register for these sessions, it's actually being uploaded under each module after we record them. So. All right. Well, thank you very much. We will see you guys in a couple of weeks, and we'll be talking about physical activity and more of your UF resources available.
Thanks so much, everybody.